Good morning. Today's Bible reading comes from Job 10 through 16. All right, let's get into the reading. To find some skeletons in my closet. I can't stand my life. I hate it. I'm putting it all out on the table. All the bitterness of my life, I'm holding back nothing. Job prayed, "Here's what I want to say. Don't, God, bring in a verdict of guilty without letting me know the charges you're bringing. How does this fit into what you once called good? Giving me a hard time, spurning me, a life you shaped by your very own hands, and then blessing the plots of the wicked. You don't look at things the way we mortals do. You're not taken in by appearances, are you? Unlike us, you're not working against a deadline. You have all eternity to work things out. So what's this all about, anyway? This compulsion to dig up some dirt, to find some skeleton in my closet. You know good and well I'm not guilty. You also know no one can help me. You made me like a handcrafted piece of pottery, and now are you going to smash me to pieces? Don't you remember how beautifully you worked my clay? Will you reduce me now to a mud pie? Oh, that marvel of conception as you stirred together semen and ovum. What a miracle of skin and bone, muscle and brain. You gave me life itself in incredible love. You watched and guarded every breath I took. But you never told me about this part. I should have known that there was more to it. That if I so much as missed a step, you'd notice and pounce. Wouldn't let me get by with the thing. If I'm truly guilty, I'm doomed. But if I'm innocent, it's no better. I'm still doomed. My belly is full of bitterness. I'm up to my ears in a swamp of affliction. I try to make the best of it, try to be brave it out. But you're too much for me. Relentless like a lion on the prowl. You line up fresh witnesses against me. You compound your anger and pile on grief and pain. So why did you have me born? I wish no one had ever laid eyes on me. I wish I'd never lived, a stillborn, buried without ever having breathed. Isn't it time to call it quits on my life? Can't you let up and let me smile just once before I die and am buried? Before I'm nailed into my coffin, sealed in the ground, and banished for good to the land of the dead, blind in the final dark? Zophar's counsel. How wisdom looks from the inside. Now it was the turn of Zophar from Namath. What flood of words! Shouldn't we put a stop to it? Should this kind of loose talk be permitted? Job, do you think you can carry on like this and we'll say nothing? That we'll let you rail and mock and not step in? You claim my doctrine is sound and my conduct impeccable. How I wish God would give you a piece of his mind, tell you what's what. I wish he'd show you how wisdom looks from the inside, for true wisdom is mostly inside. But you can be sure of this, you haven't gotten half of what you deserve. Do you think you can explain the mystery of God? Do you think you can diagram God Almighty? God is far higher than you can imagine, far deeper than you can comprehend, stretching farther than Earth's horizons, far wider than the endless ocean. If he happens along, throws you in jail, then hauls you into court, can you do anything about it? He sees through vain pretensions, spots evil a long way off. No one pulls the wool over his eyes. Hollow men, hollow women will wise up about the same time. Mules learn to talk. Reach out to God. Still, if you set your heart on God and reach out to Him, if you scrub your hands of sin and refuse to entertain evil in your home, you'll be able to face the world unashamed and keep a firm grip on life, guiltless and fearless. You'll forget your troubles. They'll be like old, faded photographs. Your world will be washed in sunshine, every shadow dispersed by dayspring. Full of hope, you'll relax, confident again. You'll look around, sit back, and take it easy. Expansive without a care in the world, you'll be hunted out by many for your blessing. But the wicked will see none of this. They're headed down a dead-end road with nothing to look forward to. Nothing. Job answers Zophar. Put your ear to the earth. Job answered, I'm sure you speak for all the experts, and when you die there'll be no one left to tell us how to live. But don't forget that I also have a brain. I don't intend to play second fiddle to you. It doesn't take an expert to know these things. I'm ridiculed by my friends, so that's the man who had a conversation with God. Ridiculed without mercy. Look at the man who never did wrong. It's easy for the well-to-do to point their fingers in blame, for the well-fixed to pour scorn on the strugglers. Crooks reside safely in high-security houses. Insolent blasphemers live in luxury. They've bought and paid for a God who'll protect them. But ask the animals what they think. Let them teach you. Let the birds tell you what's going on. Put your ear to the earth. Learn the basics. Listen, the fish in the ocean will tell you their stories. Isn't it clear that they all know and agree that God is sovereign and that He holds all things in His hand? Every living soul, yes, every breathing creature. Isn't this all just common sense, as common as the sense of taste? Do you think the elderly have a corner on wisdom, that you have to grow old before you understand life? From God we learn how to live. True wisdom and real power belong to God. From Him we learn how to live, and also what to live for. If He tears something down, it's down for good. If He locks people up, they're locked up for good. If He holds back the rain, there's a drought. If He lets it loose, there's a flood. Strength and success belong to God. Both deceived and deceiver must answer to Him. He strips experts of their vaunted credentials, exposes judges as witless fools. He divests kings of their royal garments, then ties a rag around their waist. He strips priests of their robes and fires high officials from their jobs. He forces trusted sages to keep silent, deprives elders of their good sense and wisdom. He dumps contempt on famous people, disarms the strong and mighty. He shines a spotlight into caves of darkness, hauls deepest darkness into the noonday sun. He makes nations rise and then fall, builds up some and abandons others. He robs world leaders of their reason and sends them off into no man's land. They grope in the dark without a clue, lurching and staggering like drunks. I'm taking my case to God. Yes, I've seen all this with my own eyes, heard and understood it with my very own ears. Everything you know, I know. So I'm not taking a back seat to any of you. I'm taking my case straight to God Almighty. I've had it with you. I'm going directly to God. You graffiti my life with lies. You're a bunch of pompous quacks. I wish you'd shut your mouths. Silence is your only claim to wisdom. Listen now while I make my case. Consider my side of things for a change. Or are you going to keep on lying to do God a service? To make up stories to get Him off the hook? Why do you always take His side? Do you think He needs a lawyer to defend Himself? How would you fare if you were in the dock? Your lies might convince a jury, but would they convince God? He reprimands you on the spot. If they detected a bias in your witness, does his splendor put you in awe? Aren't you afraid to speak cheap lies before him? Your wise sayings are knick-knack wisdom, good for nothing but gathering dust. So hold your tongue while I have my say, then I'll take whatever I have coming to me. Why do I go out on a limb like this, take my life in my hands? Because even if he killed me, I'd keep on hoping. I'd defend my innocence to the very end. Just wait. This is going to work out for the best. My salvation. If I were guilt-stricken, do you think I'd be doing this? Laying myself on the line before God? You'd better pay attention to what I'm telling you. Listen carefully with both ears. Now that I've laid out my defense, I'm sure I'll be acquitted. Can anyone prove charges against me? I've said my piece, I rest my case. Why does God stay hidden and silent? Please, God, I have 2 requests. Grant them so I'll know I count with you. First, lay off the afflictions. The terror is too much for me. Second, address me directly so I can answer you. Or let me speak and then you answer me. How many sins have been charged against me? Show me the list. How bad is it? Why do you stay hidden and silent? Why treat me like I'm your enemy? Why kick me around like an old tin can? Why beat a dead horse? You compile a list of mean things about me. Even hold me accountable for the sins of my youth. You hobble me so I can't move about. You watch every move I make and brand me as a dangerous character. Like something rotten, human life fast decomposes, like a moth-eaten shirt or a mildewed blouse. If we die, will we live again? We're all adrift in the same boat, too few days, too many troubles. We spring up like wildflowers in the desert and then wilt, transient as the shadow of a cloud. Do you occupy your time with such fragile wisps? Why even bother hauling me into court? There's nothing much to us to start with. How do you expect us to amount to anything? Mortals have a limited lifespan. You've already decided how long we'll live. You set the boundary and no one can cross it. So why not give us a break? Ease up. Even ditch diggers get occasional days off. For a tree there is always hope. Chop it down and it still has a chance. Its roots can put out fresh sprouts. Even if its roots are old and gnarled, its stump long dormant. At the first whiff of water it comes to life, buds and grows like a sapling. But men and women, they die and stay dead. They breathe their last and that's it. Like lakes and rivers that have dried up, parched reminders of what once was. So mortals lie down and never get up, never wake up again, never. Why don't you just bury me alive? Get me out of the way until your anger cools. But don't leave me there. Set a date when you'll see me again. If we humans die, will we live again? That's my question. All through these difficult days, I keep hoping, waiting for the final change, for resurrection. Homesick with longing for the creature you made, you'll call, and I'll answer. You'll watch over every step I take, but you won't keep track of my missteps. My sins will be stuffed in a sack and thrown into the sea, sunk in deep ocean. Meanwhile, mountains wear down and boulders break up. Stones wear smooth and soil erodes. As you relentlessly grind down our hope, you're too much for us. As always, you get the last word. We don't like it, and our faces show it, but you send us off anyway. If our children do well for themselves, we never know it. They do badly, we're spared the hurt. Body and soul, that's it for us. A lifetime of pain and a lifetime of sorrow. Eliphaz attacks again. You trivialize religion. Eliphaz of Teman spoke a second time. If you were truly wise, would you sound so much like a windbag, belching hot air? Would you talk nonsense in the middle of a serious argument, babbling baloney? Look at you, you trivialize religion, turn spiritual conversation into empty gossip. It's your sin that taught you to talk this way. You chose an education in fraud. Your own words have exposed your guilt. It's nothing I've said. You've incriminated yourself. Do you think you're the first person to have to deal with these things? Have you been around as long as the hills? Well, you're listening in when God planned all this. Do you think you're the only one who knows anything? What do you know that we don't know? What insights do you have that we've missed? Gray beards and white hair back us up. Old folks who've been around a lot longer than you. Are God's promises not enough for you, spoken so gently and tenderly? Why do you let your emotions take over, lashing out and spitting fire, pitting your whole being against God by letting words like this come out of your mouth? Do you think it's possible for any mere mortal to be sinless in God's sight? For anyone born of a human mother to get it all together? Why, God can't even trust his holy angels. He sees the flaws in the very heavens themselves. So how much less we humans, smelly and foul, who lap up evil like water, always at odds with God. I've a thing or two to tell you, so listen up. I'm letting you in on my views. It's what wise men and women have always taught, holding nothing back from what they were taught by their parents back in the days when they had this land all to themselves. Those who live by their own rules, not God's, can expect nothing but trouble. And the longer they live, the worse it gets. Every little sound terrifies them. Just when they think they have it made, disaster strikes. They despair of things ever getting better. They're on the list of people for whom things always turn out for the worst. They wander here and there, never knowing where the next meal is coming from. Every day is doomsday. They live in constant terror, always with their backs up against the wall, because they insist on shaking their fists at God, defying God Almighty to his face, always and ever at odds with God, always on the defensive. Even if they're the picture of health, trim and fit and youthful, they'll end up living in a ghost town, sleeping in a hovel not fit for a dog, a ramshackle shack. They'll never get ahead, never amount to a hill of beans. And then death. Don't think they'll escape that. They'll end up shriveled weeds, brought down by a puff of God's breath. There's a lesson here. Whoever invests in lies get lies for interest, paid in full before the due date. Some investment. They'll be like fruit frost-killed before it ripens, like buds sheared off before they bloom. The godless are fruitless, a barren crew. A life built on bribes goes up in smoke. They have sex with sin and give birth to evil. Their lives are wombs for breeding deceit. Job defends himself. If you were in my shoes. Then Job defended himself. I've had all I can take of your talk. What a bunch of miserable comforters. Is there no end to your windbag speeches? What's your problem that you go on and on like this? If you were in my shoes, I could talk just like you. I could put together a terrific harangue and really let you have it. But I never do that. I'd console and comfort, make things better, not worse. When I speak up, I feel no better. If I say nothing, that doesn't help either. I feel worn down. God, you have wasted me totally. Me and my family. You've shriveled me like a dried prune, showing the world that you're against me. My gaunt face stares back at me from the mirror, a mute witness to your treatment of me. Your anger tears at me. Your teeth rips me to shreds. Your eyes burn holes in me. God, my enemy. People take one look at me and gasp. Contemptuous, they slap me around and gang up against me. And God just stands there and lets them do it. Lets wicked people do what they want with me. I was contentedly minding my business when God beat me up. He grabbed me by the neck and threw me around. He set me up as his target, then rounded up archers to shoot at me. Mercilessly, they shot me full of arrows. Bitter bile poured from my gut to the ground. He burst in on me, onslaught after onslaught, charging me like a mad bull. I sewed myself a shroud and wore it like a shirt. I lay face down in the dirt. Now my face is blotched red from weeping. Look at the dark shadows under my eyes, even though I've never hurt a soul, and my prayers are sincere. The one who represents mortals before God. Oh, earth, don't cover up the wrong done to me. Don't muffle my cry. There must be someone in heaven who knows the truth about me. In highest heaven, some attorney who can clear my name. My champion, my friend, while I'm weeping, my eyes out before God. I appeal to the one who represents mortals before God, as a neighbor stands up for a neighbor. Only a few years are left before I set out on the road of no return. And that is it for today's Bible reading. I think now we're caught up, so we should be back to the regular daily reading that was planned. All right, guys, that is it. Remember to get in touch with God today, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.